Hey guys, college football update week 3. I am beyond excited to give you guys this update. There is so much that happened over the weekend. It's going to be really difficult to get through it in 10 minutes, but let's try to do it quickly. So let's start with Notre Dame 66 to 14 win over New Mexico. I got to tell you, I think that was the worst team ever to step foot in Notre Dame Stadium. I have to think that. I do remember back in the 80s, Notre Dame beat Rice 54 to 11. Obviously not a very good Rice team, but again, it's the 80s. It was kind of a different time in college football, so scoring 54 points back then, especially in a run-oriented offense as Notre Dame had, kind of a very big deal. I also remember beating Boston College 62 to nothing at one point. So obviously those were huge wins, but this win this doesn't happen. Notre Dame does not normally beat teams 66 to 14. I remember Notre Dame playing UMass, not a good UMass team, a few years back, beat them, I think, maybe 62 to 27 or something like that. So, I mean, teams tend to, score some points. So it's really kind of amazing, but it just goes to show you how bad New Mexico was. I will say this, still extremely concerned about Notre Dame's running game. I think they were 1 for 10 on third down, just awful. I mean, cannot run up the middle, and it was so ridiculous because during the broadcast, everybody just kept talking. Like the announcers were like, "Oh, this Notre Dame offensive line is so amazing. They're so great. It's NFL offensive line." Well, if you're an NFL offensive line, you can get a yard on 3rd and 1, and it just wasn't happening. So, if you honestly think that Notre Dame's going to be able to go into Georgia when you can't get 1 yard against New Mexico, this is really not good leading into Georgia week. So, look, I already told you guys, I do not see any chance that Notre Dame beats Georgia. I do think it's, unfortunately for me, going to be, probably a 45 to something score, 45 to 17 or 45-21, 45-24 or something like that. I would love to see Notre Dame come out and try to do some different things, and I think they're going to do that. I just think it's going to be too much to overcome. Look, I picked Georgia to win the national championship at the beginning of the year. I do not think that Notre Dame is a playoff team. 9-3 would be great. 10-2 would be great as well, but I just don't see it happening this week, but we'll see. So we're going to stop talking about that. We'll talk about the Notre Dame-Georgia game after next week. But again, that New Mexico team was atrocious. Notre Dame still has so many things to work on. It's not going to be good for me leading into this week. All right, so I wore this shirt. If you guys can see it, Kansas, all right? Had to wear it. Kansas had not won a road game since 2008. 2008! I mean, do you even understand how ridiculous that is? 2008. 48 losses in a row on the road. I mean, that is absolutely insane. And then they beat Boston College 48 to 24. It was so fantastic to watch it. I'm telling you, I feel like I was watching the Super Bowl. It was unbelievable. I was loving it. I was absolutely loving this game. So, great win for Kansas. I don't think they're going to do anything with it. I think Boston College was extremely one-dimensional. They obviously usually are with A.J. Dillon. The quarterback cannot pass the ball. And I think they came into the game just thinking they were going to push them around. I mean, Kansas is still a college football team. It's a Division I college football team. You got to come into that game, thinking that, hey, this is going to be still going to be a game. Let's try to play through it. So I think it was a lot of that, but, hey, come on. I'm almost speechless. I'm not even sure what to say. I mean, 11 years of not winning a road game, just fantastic, Kansas. Very happy for you. I already mentioned this, and I talked about it at the beginning of the year. I don't believe in Maryland. I don't believe in Mike Locksley. When they play a team that is not named Howard or Syracuse, who plays no defense, they play Temple, who is a hard-nosed team, which is what the Big Ten is. Maryland is not going to be able to compete, in my mind, in the Big Ten. When they play a team who's going to push them around, it's going to be a problem. Based on what we've seen, could they get to 6 wins? Maybe. But again, still got beat by Temple 20 to 17. I foresee that happening in a lot of these Big Ten games they play. So interesting game there. FCS teams. I mean, Furman hung with Virginia Tech. By the way, they hung with Georgia State, who's marginally a Division I team. I'm very marginal on the Sun Belt actually being Division I. We've talked about that in the past. To me, it's kind of a glorified FCS. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They still hung with them. And then they go to Virginia Tech, and Virginia Tech beats them 24-17. Just great game by Furman. And in my mind, should have gotten the onside kick and had the opportunity to go down. And then the Citadel Look at the Citadel. Listen, in the 80s, and Carolina fans are not going to be happy with me here, but you know where I'm going. In the 80s, the Citadel beat Carolina, I think it was 38-35, which at the time was probably their biggest win in history, I would assume. Certainly in the modern era. And then they, go down and beat Georgia Tech at Georgia Tech in overtime. I would still say the Carolina win is bigger because it's in state. But man, just fantastic win for the Citadel. Happy for them. Good job, FCS teams. This kind of brings us into Eastern Michigan. So again, kind of could be an FCS team to some people. But anyway, for me, I talk about Eastern Michigan all the time. Listen, Eastern Michigan again won a Big Ten game. They beat Illinois 34-31. Is Illinois terrible in the Big Ten? No doubt about it. One of the worst teams in the Big Ten. I have absolutely no idea why they would have given Lovie Smith an extended contract. Illinois, what the hell are you doing? Hire the guy across the way. Hire Chris Creighton, who's coaching at Eastern Michigan. I've been talking about this for years. This guy needs to get an opportunity. He's going 6-6 every year at Eastern Michigan. That is absolutely look at historically look at their program. And then do yourself a favor, watch a game where Eastern Michigan is playing at home. There are literally 5,000 people in the stands, and half of it is tarped off. The place seats 30,000 people. You got to be kidding. How is nobody giving this guy a shot? Who would possibly go play football at this school? And this guy's killing it. Somebody has to give him an opportunity. We've got to see that happen. All right, Alabama beats South Carolina 47-23. It wasn't as dominant as I would have thought. And, it's interesting. I think that has a lot to do with Helinski. I think Carolina came out swinging. I like the fact that they hung in the game. I think it was closer at half. I think it was 24-10 than a lot probably would have expected. But, hey, look, Carolina's going to be one of those teams who I think is going to be pretty good, but they're going to be 5-7, maybe 6-6. I think they're going to be a lot better than the record's going to indicate. They have a really, really tough schedule. So hang in there, Carolina fans. I know it's tough, but I tend to think your record's not going to necessarily indicate the strides that you're making this year. Minnesota's the worst 3-0 team that I can possibly think of. They did have a nice win against Fresno last week, but beat Georgia Southern by 3 points. Beat South Dakota State in the first week by, I think, a touchdown. I get it. They're winning and they're eking out wins. But once you get into Big Ten play, this is kind of classic Minnesota. This is what they used to do under Glenn Mason. They would start 5-0, 6-0, and then finish 6-6. So I kind of see that happening with them this year. Iowa State, oh my gosh. If you guys didn't see it, Iowa punts it to Iowa State. There's about a minute and a half left. It hits the Iowa State guy in the back. Iowa recovers, and that's it. So it's just heart wrenching. And this is the thing they make T-shirts about, bumper stickers about. Come on, it's the butt fumble. It's the exact same thing. It doesn't go away. This is going to live in infamy with this series. So I feel bad for Iowa State fans, but at the same time, because I'm not a fan necessarily, the T-shirts are going to be kind of funny. So I guess we'll see what happens. Somebody's absolutely going to take advantage of that, so I can't wait to see it. UMass is, without a doubt, the worst Division I program, other than New Mexico, maybe. I would love to see that. That would be a great matchup. UMass and New Mexico, I would pay for that. If that was on pay-per-view, I would 100% pay money for that. Who wouldn't? That would be the worst game to watch, which would be the most exciting game to watch. They lost. UMass lost to Charlotte 52-17. Remember, now let me just repeat that again: 52-17 to Charlotte. The 49ers. I tell you, making strides here, people. Good job, 49ers. 52-17. That's fantastic. Score 52 points. I never would have thought that would have happened. So we'll see what happens. Look, Charlotte last year was 5-7. They're kind of beginning to get to where they need to be. But UMass is going nowhere. They're again, I mentioned this last week, they are really, really going to wish they had hung on to Mark Whipple. They were 4-8 almost every year with him, but he had him in games. They're just completely uncompetitive right now. UVA beats Florida State 31-24. I'm not surprised at all. Listen, I said this. UVA is going to be, they're going to continue to be good. They play a very hard-nosed style of football. They're going to continue to win these games. I am not looking forward to having Notre Dame play Virginia, especially after having played Georgia. That's going to be an extremely tough game. I'm going to leave you guys with UCLA, so do yourself a favor. Everybody who thinks Chip Kelly is still a genius, and don't get me wrong, obviously he's had success. However, he was handed the Oregon job. Mike Bellotti built that program into what it was. He handed him the job, and he kept it rolling. That's fine. I get it. Chip Kelly does not like to recruit. He never has. So if you look at UCLA's recruiting right now, I think they're 67th in 24/7 Sports, which is the recruiting site that I look at. I think last year they might have been 40th, 45th, something like that. You are never going to win the Pac-12 if you're 60 plus in recruiting, even 40 plus in recruiting. That's tough. Wisconsin, Michigan State, teams like that, they can get away with it. They have a system. They put guys in that system. It works. UCLA's system, I don't know what it is, because I don't think they've scored they've scored less than 20 points in every game they've had this year. And that is your genius offensive mind. It's over. I mean, they should not have hired Chip Kelly. This is not working. They're certainly not going to pay him out because they owe him a ton of money. But let me tell you, I don't care. I get it. People say, well, it's Oklahoma. Okay, well, they lost to Cincinnati, and they're not. Look, this is not working. UCLA is absolutely not going to do anything this year. They're going to continue to lose. So remember I said it. We'll keep looking out for it. You guys enjoy the games this weekend.